So how did Madoff pull off what the SEC calls the largest securities fraud in history? Susan Stewart is here with us now. She's president of Charter Financial Group. Susan, good to have you with us. We hear the term Ponzi scheme, but I guess a lot of people don't understand how that works and how did he make it work and for so long?
Well, Andrea, in short order, the Ponzi scheme is simply where you pay off old investors with the investors you bring in, new investors you bring in. So it's a constant scheme of bringing in new investors to pay off old investors, and the old investors feel like they're getting a return on their investments.
Sure.
So as long as you just keep bringing them in, I guess.
You're recycling money.
But I think the bigger issue of how this happened is that people simply didn't know who was managing their money or how. I mean, when I've read in the paper this morning from Mort Zuckerman is surprised that he had so much, his charity had so much money invested with Madoff. You mentioned Spielberg. In all of these cases, the individual whose money it was, or the charity whose money it was, is saying, I didn't know Madoff had the money.
Right.
So that's appalling to me.
Sounds like some of the mortgages. You open a mortgage and have one company managing your mortgage, then it's sold to someone else, and someone else goes down the tube, and then you find out where it's been. Why didn't it raise red flags? I was reading in the Wall Street Journal this morning, there were so many things that just didn't make sense with this scheme or the strategy that he had, that more red flags should have gone off, but they just didn't.
I think more red flags should have gone off. And, you know, I don't fault the individual investors that got caught up in this, because evidently he was a good con artist, and whatever supporting documentation that was created supported that this was legitimate. I have an issue with the fund-of-funds managers, the big institutional managers that put money with Madoff, because those are supposed to be the smart folks. And I think we as investors have to get away from this idea that you can get a return without any risk. It simply doesn't happen. It's just old-fashioned, straight-up managing money involves risks, and then it revolves rewards. And something's too good to be true.
Exactly.
It probably is.
Especially when the market was going down and he was still showing profits. There are people who've lost a lot of money, we said. One family we were talking about in the break, the Shapiro, it's only half of his fortune, but we're talking $545 million. Is there an FDIC insurance program for these people?
Well, there is the SIPC, which covers investors up to $500,000. So I think, sadly, exactly. So,
but something.
Yeah, it's something. But again, you've got to know what you own, and you've got to know who's managing your money.
All right, so you have to be smart, just not somebody turning it over to an investor. No matter how wonderful you are, Susan, you want people to be engaged. Let's talk about one other thing before you go. The Fed is considering another interest rate cut, maybe down to 0.5% or even lower. We just keep cutting, we keep cutting. Has it made a difference? It doesn't seem like it.
Well, it may not appear like it has now, but I do believe that some of these actions, the interest rate cuts, which undoubtedly will come at 2.15 today, but also the money the Fed and Treasury have injected into the market, you cannot have that much liquidity thrown at the market without it sometime taking hold. And I think we're seeing that taking hold. I feel much better now and much more confident than I did when I was here in September and October, talking people off the ledge.
You're talking about liquidity, but there was also this report. The Fed has begun to print so much money to finance its liquidity programs, it could spell disaster down the road. Are you worried about that?
Ultimately, yes, but it's like the patient has a big gaping wound, and something needs to be put on the wound, and then you've got to figure out the longer-term strategy. So I think smart people are at this, and they know the risk they're running with that. So, yeah.
All right, Susan Stewart, thank you for being with us. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays to you.
We'll be right back. Stay with us.